How's it going? In this video I'm going to take a look and share a couple of Court of Appeal decisions which are actually good news for employers and good news for anybody who operates a premises and who may from time to time be susceptible to a claim, a personal injury claim. So before that though, I want to feed my birds. So I'm going to have a look here, or I'm going to get some bird feed first and I'll show you how I feed the birds. As you can see there, I've got a little bird feeder. He's after feeding or flying off there. And the biggest job I have is actually keeping the big birds away from the feeder. It's the little birds I'm really concerned about, not the big ones. And crows and magpies and so on come along and they drag it off the branch. That's why I've tied it up with briquette wrapping there to prevent them from dragging it off. And once they drag it off, the branch hits the ground, opens, and magpies and crows and all the big birds have a great time with it. So I try to prevent that. So I have another feeder over here, actually in a tree, and that's what I'm going to replace or replenish today. So we'll have a look there now. So the other feeder I have is in this tree here, and it's in here, and this is what we've got to feed, or we've got to replenish now today. And obviously again I've tied it up with briquette wire in order to prevent the big birds from dragging it down, because they really do go to town on it. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, to resume the video that I was making about the Court of Appeal decisions, essentially it involved two High Court decisions which had gone against Dunnes Stores. Dunnes Stores have a policy of defending and fighting virtually all claims that are brought against them. And Dunnes Stores are perfectly entitled to do that. They've got the money and they've got the resources. And they may well take the view that this policy will discourage frivolous litigants, and certainly if anybody came to me looking to bring a claim against Dunnes Stores, there's no problem, no issue with that, but I would have to tell them that the case is probably not going to settle, that Dunnes do seem to have a policy of fighting cases. In any event, in this particular case, what happened was a checkout operator had suffered an injury, some sort of an arm or shoulder injury, because she apparently slipped on, I think, a plastic bag or something, some wrapper that was on the ground around her checkout area. And she'd won the case, personal injury claim, in the High Court. But Dunnes appealed it to the Court of Appeal. And in the Court of Appeal decision, Dunnes gave evidence of their security man walking past the particular checkout operator's station about 5 minutes before the accident and observing that there was no wrapper on the ground, there was no particular reason, there was no bags or anything thrown on the ground that might cause an accident or might cause her to slip and suffer an injury. And the judge accepted that this particular system of operation by Dunnes, whereby the security man walking past would also have a sort of a health and safety function in keeping an eye out for that sort of thing. The Court of Appeal accepted that that was a reasonable system put in place by Dunnes, and consequently Dunnes couldn't be held negligent, and consequently Dunnes won the appeal, and the employee basically was considered to be the architect of her own misfortune, her own injury, and therefore Dunn's wasn't negligent. The other case was similar. It was a guy who stepped off a pallet, I think, and he got wrapped up or entangled in shrink wrap or some sort of plastic wrapping. He fell and suffered some sort of an injury as well. He won his case in the High Court. Dunn's again appealed it to the Court of Appeal, and the same judge in the Court of Appeal made similar comments. He recognised that the employer has an obligation under common law and under statute, the Safety, Health and Welfare at Work Act, to provide a safe place of work, etc., etc. But the employee also, under the particular legislation, also has an obligation to look out and have regard for his or her own safety. And again, in this situation, it was given in evidence that this particular employee who stepped off the pallet and subsequently suffered an injury had received health and safety training and so on and so forth. So again, the judge, I think it was Judge McGovern, not 100%, it was a Court of Appeal, decided that Dunn's weren't negligent and therefore weren't liable. So 2 Court of Appeal decisions, the same judge, both situations where the employer, Dunn Stores, were held liable in the High Court, but they won in the Court of Appeal. And they were won in the Court of Appeal on the basis, very simple basis, that an employee, or indeed anybody, has a certain obligation, a certain legal duty to exercise care for their own safety. Yes, the employer, yes, the premises owner has a duty of care to all its users. An employer has a duty of care to all its employees, but an employee also has a duty of care to exercise common sense and use the training that they've been given and have a look out for their own safety. If you go to my website, employmentrightsireland.com, and I'll put a link underneath this video to the blog post. I've written a blog post about the 2 cases, I've summarised the 2 of them, and I've put links to the actual decisions from the Court of Appeal. It's useful and it's good news, I suppose, for employers insofar as if the employer is not negligent, if the employer has acted reasonably, if the employer has provided training, if the employer provides a safe method and a safe place of work and so on and so forth, then the employer may not necessarily be held negligent and held liable for any injuries suffered as a result. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, you might give it the old thumbs up down below, and thanks for the shares and the comments and the likes and so on and so forth on my YouTube channel. The channel is growing fairly well, and considering I'm a one-man band making these videos with my mobile phone, I have over 4,000 subscribers now, and it's going from strength to strength, and it gives me a good old kick to make the videos, gives me a good kick to see the growth of the channel, and as I say, thanks for your support.